Good morning. My name is Ian Soars. I'm the Chief Executive of Fegans, a children's charity that provides therapy for vulnerable and traumatized children. And we also do parenting support for families that are really struggling in whatever the world's throwing at them. And we're going to be talking a lot about what the world is going to be throwing at us today. And I'm joined by Sarah Wallis. Sarah, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Head of Delivery for Fegans, so responsible for just making all the counselling and the parenting continue to happen through tricky times as well as the normal times.
So we thought here at Fegans, so we've done a lot over the last week to digitise our services. So a lot of the work that we're doing one-to-one in therapy rooms is now gone online, and we're about to launch a Zoom. In fact, we have launched a Zoom counselling service for teenagers. And if you come onto our website, you might be able to see some details of that, or email us at info@fegans.co.uk in order to get the
Fegans.org.uk.
Thank you, .org.uk. It worked long enough, you'd think, right? And the other thing that we're doing a lot of is some online parenting support. So we've got a website different to the normal Fegans website. I've also got another one called Dad.info, and we've got parent support workers working on there. So if you've got immediate issues that are you want support in, there's people there and live most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, dealing with those things. But Sarah, today we're going to be talking about the new paradigm. We're going to be talking about how coronavirus has impacted all of us as parents. I mean, you've got 3 kids, I've got 3 kids. We're all cooped up. And for a lot of people watching, they'll be thinking, well, what do I do about that? And one of the main things that people will be worried about, I suspect, is about resilience for their kids. How do we get through this as families? Are you facing this? Was that just me?
And I think we all are. I think the prospect of being indoors or in the house in limited communication with the world and doing all the normal things is quite scary, and also the threat of trying to continue to work whilst having children at home is a big deal as well. And also just the not knowing of, the government have said it's 3 weeks for the moment, but we don't know how long it's going to be. The schools are likely to be shut for longer. So I'm being disturbed by one of mine right now.
Well, it's real life, right?
So that the uncertainty is the worst thing about it, really, and the hardest thing to explain to children too.
And yet, so we're in this situation as parents. Of course, we are literally the grown-ups in the room, and so we need to think about how do we bring a sense of resilience, a sense of support, a sense of stability for many of us who are actually parenting in very difficult circumstances, maybe very restricted space. Maybe we've got children with additional needs. Maybe, we've gone through other stuff outside of coronavirus, which is making our life hard, separation and so on. And so we're looking at all of this and saying, well, how do we bring stability to our families? So where would you start in your family?
I think the first thing, and probably the most important thing at the moment, is to continue with a routine. So I know we're heading into the Easter holidays, but I think we're not on holiday at the moment. And I think keeping the term times defined as much as possible would be really, really helpful. And I think the schools have all been fantastic at sending home stuff to do, or continuing. The teachers are online with some of the older students. I think if you can get a timetable for your family sorted out, that basically mirrors the usual school week. I think that gives stability and it gives security, because they know what's happening, they know what they should be doing, and wherever possible, even just doing 10 minutes of that in a lesson is better than, I don't think we have to have our expectations realistic that they're not going to be working as hard as they would be at school and in the same circumstances. But if you've got an hour for each sort of school period sorted out, and they do 10 minutes of their maths and then do some drawing or something else, or go in the garden if they can, or do something else, but at least keep that so that then at the next hour they next do their bit of literacy or whatever it is.
So we've tried doing sort of task stuff, where we say, do as many, do like 10 sums, or read 2 chapters of the book, or and then do that, and then we can sit out in the garden, because thank you God the weather's glorious at the moment, and so we've got at least somewhere that we can go.
Yeah.
We were talking before we did this about resilience for children, resilience for the parents. So any thoughts on, and we talk about, when you're 747 and the captain says, this is your captain speaking, we're going down in the North Atlantic. And what they always say is, when that happens, the flight attendants with all that, and they say, well, you get the mask on yourself first, then your kids. So in terms of resilience, taking that as a model, how do you think it's good for us to get resilience into our lives, and why should we do that?
Well, we do really need to, especially at the moment, I think. Somehow we need to find our inner strength and our inner voice, to find our resistance, to be able to deal with everything at the moment. So I think if we imagine a little bottle of water, it needs to be topped right up. At the moment, if it's empty, it will fall over if the wind blows. So it's finding things that you can do for yourself amongst all of the madness of having children and everything going out the window.
Sure.
And I think the way we can do that is to think about the things that do make us happy, and finding that time to do that. So it might be starting the morning with a call to one of your normal friends that you would see on the school run, or just building in those things that make you happy, just even for 5 minutes, just to kind of keep yourself topped up. You read something, or find something that just grounds you first thing in the morning, really.
And also, we talk about routines for kids, but actually it's good for us to have routines. So I'm still getting up at the same time, still going down and meditating in the morning, and my children are watching that. I'm not dressed in my pajamas every day. I'm getting up, I'm shaved, I'm at home, I'm shaved, just keeping the routines going, partly for me, partly for my kids. My kids are looking at me going, all right, he's still on it, he's still doing it, he's still working, maybe we should be doing the same. So I think that's and eating breakfast together and lunch together and all that sort of stuff that we're talking about as well. So so let's just say we've managed to get those routines in place. We've centered on the stuff that's important to us. We've focused on relationships, and making sure that we're caring for others. I think it's really important that kids watch us care for others, even in this time, that we're not all self-orientated. It's all about my survival. We had somebody the other day just say, "Oh, look, I've got no toilet roll," and so we just took them around a load of toilet roll, because and children watch it and go, okay, then it's not a crisis situation. If mum or dad can care for others, actually, there's a kind of a messaging that's going on that's really.
If there's any opportunities, within the kind of lockdown to do something for somebody else, I think it is really good that getting yourself out of your own home bubble and looking wider to the other people that is a great way to kind of maintain your well-being and also your perspective, and as you say, to role model that to the kids as well.
Yeah, because kids do what we do, and if we want to build resilience in them, we've got to demonstrate it ourselves, and that's hard. And of course, doing that, through purpose, like doing stuff for other people, working. If we can work, I mean, it's going to be different. We're not going to be able to do as many hours, but if we just saying, right, today I'm going to get this done, as best as we can. I think that's. And what about? Okay, so this is wishful thinking, I know, right? But what about exercise? Let's just talk about exercise.
I think it's it is a good thing to do if we can possibly do that. Definitely. I know that people all around the country are doing the Joe Wicks PE.
Yeah, Joe Wicks. Shout out to you.
We've been doing couch to 5K runs, which is quite tiring but quite good. And also a lot of the if your children are involved with external clubs, rugby clubs or swimming or dancing or anything like that, that they normally do in their routine, most of those people are sending out things to do just to keep people, hooked in, but also still, stretching and keeping their exercise going. So if you can do make use of any of those things, I think that really helps. Plug you in with your friends that you normally see at those clubs as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I always used to have this thing where if I've only got accused of murder, you see those TV programs in America, and a guy goes to jail like for 5 years, and he buffs up in his cell by just like doing push-ups, and I always thought, oh well, if it ever happens to me, I'm gonna And so far in my in incarceration, I failed. I am not yet buffed, but as of tomorrow, I promise people, hold me to account for this. We are, the Soarses are starting to do regular exercise. I actually do regular exercise normally, but we're going to start doing exercise together. Why? Because it's good, not just for our body, it's good for our mind. And you can work out a whole amount of stress, a whole amount of insecurities by just pushing a bit hard. And so just, as we said, a big shout out to Joe Wicks and the work he's doing. Bless you, Joe, for what you're doing. That's really cool. So we're talking about keeping routines going, work going, homework going, some exercise, mealtime. Actually, the other thing you mentioned earlier was also about being realistic about the expectations on ourselves as parents. Did you want to expand on that?
I think so. I think the biggest stress that I felt last week when we knew it was likely that we were going to be kind of in lockdown was the thought of how am I going to still continue to work when the three of mine are potentially climbing the walls doing who knows what. How am I going to do both? And I think sorry, an email coming in. But I think lowering our expectations of what they're going to achieve is a good thing, and also the expectations of what we're going to achieve. It just doesn't do anybody any good to kill ourselves trying to do everything at the moment. I think because it is a national and international situation, everybody's in the same boat, and we have to remember that that a whole generation of children's education is going to be slightly altered than maybe it would have been. For sure. So just take the pressure off yourselves a bit, I think.
Because we've both got daughters who are due to do GCSEs. And, that's been a big impact on them, and nobody really knows what the outcome of that is. And of course, where does resilience come from? Resilience, or the lack of it, comes from insecurity, unknowing, not too sure what's coming around the corner. Where does resilience therefore come? It comes from routines, from boundaries, from being realistic on your expectations, from taking a sense of failure away, which is what you're talking about, particularly as parents. It's going to be tough. I do think there is a magic moment here, though. For people, for those of us who work, whose work-life balance tends to go more towards the work than the life, there is an opportunity, I think, and I've been thinking about this the last few days, particularly to really build relationship with our kids. And I know for some of us, it's going to be like, that's crazy. We're cooped up, we're on top of each other, but we often talk about special one-to-one time, but even just because you're in close proximity, that is not the same as building relationship. So do you think there's a chance that as a nation we could perhaps get to know our kids a bit more, one-to-one, and the importance of making sure we're doing that intentionally, or
Yeah, I think so. I think we can kind of within our routine plan to have this some time where you're actually not trying to answer the phone or deal with emails or cook the dinner, and just to have 10 minutes with each child, really, wherever possible. And that might be going for a run with them, or it might be joining in doing their ballet with them online or whatever, but it's just giving them some of that just focused time. And I think along with that as well, at the moment now, the whole world is trying to operate through digital means where we've got everything has switched, and it's amazing that we do have the facility to do this, because imagine what it'd be like if we couldn't see each other or speak to each other in the way that we can. But I think in amongst that, it can feel like saturation point, and having some sort of digital downtime is really important as well, where there isn't people, you haven't got teenagers on house party communicating with 6 other people, and you haven't got your emails binging, as you can hear mine going all the way through this, and just having some time where all you're dealing with is the people in front of you. I think that is certainly yesterday that was what I needed to do for my own sanity.
Well, I'm in fact on that. I'm trying to ironically stop work at 5 o'clock. Part of the routine, start at 9, stop at 5, and ironically, because actually I've probably got more hours to work now, but I think it's important to demonstrate to my kids and actually switch off and not be looking at my emails at 8 o'clock, because they do fly in all day and all night, to make sure that happens. And actually, if you're facing some of the issues that we're talking about, just to remind you, there's a forum on Dad.info. There's a forum where there's parent support workers there most of the time to answer specific questions. I'm in this situation, what do I do? What do I do? Or if you're not, if that's not you, go onto the Fegans website, fegans.org.uk. we set up a digital family hub last week with all of our resources. We're just giving it all away. There's parenting in a pandemic. There's all kinds of stuff that's on there that will really help. I think just on the, let's talk about coronavirus directly. We've had, people on our team become ill. And so that's been a real impact on us. We've had a lot of, our income has stopped dead as an organisation because we work in schools, and obviously schools are closed and the fundraising has stopped. So there is actually for us, a real tension. But you were talking about that tension between being real with children, but without catastrophizing stuff. Did you want to expand on that? How do we talk to children about the situation we are in as our family, as in our case, our charity is, in the face of all this, and also what Boris Johnson is, leading the nation through?
Yeah, I think we're all finding our way in this because it is completely unprecedented.
Sure.
But I think, depending on the age of your children, they do need to know, what it's all about. I saw something yesterday where somebody had said, do you understand, to a little child, why you're not at school at the moment? And he said, yes, it's because there's no loo roll. But, so I think we have to adjust. We have to adjust our, our explanations. But I know certainly for older children, they're completely aware of what's happening. I'm sure that probably most of them all sat and watched Boris make the announcement the other night, and they are aware of it. So I think it falls to us as parents to be realistic and to explain it, not hide things from them about it, but at the same time to kind of try and keep a bit of perspective, to try and reiterate all the things we need to do to keep safe. So keeping away from other people, washing your hands, minimizing that contact. But I think also just giving them space to listen to their concerns about it, because they might have got the wrong end of the stick and just need you to explain it properly.
Sure.
And I think that the way that we can help them with their resilience is to watch how we react to their questions about things. So not dismissing them, not going, oh, you don't need to worry about that, sweeping it under the carpet.
That's true.
Not,
that doesn't
not
help.
being
Absolutely.
not being angry and saying, well, being cross about it, and showing them, sometimes it's okay to be angry, but how you deal with that is the right. But also not being, the tendency with when we've got our children is to kind of want to fix everything for them, to kind of rush in and fix it, and we can't with this. No. So we need to be understanding and talking about the emotions that we feel about being frustrated or being frightened, all of that stuff, but just talking about what they need now. What do they need right now? What can we make? How can we make this better? And working with them, and what they'd like you to do, all of that kind of stuff, just to keep the conversation going. And I think, just basically modelling the right, trying to find our way through this, but also being real with them, that we don't have all the answers, and that we feel exactly the same as them about being frustrated, stuck in the house all day, frightened about being ill, all that. I think that's what we can try and do.
So if I can summarise this, we just bring this into land for today. I think the first thing that we're talking about is be real with your expectations of your kids and yourself. We're all going to struggle. It's not going to be easy. And life has just thrown a curveball at all of us, and that's okay. We need to get it in proportion. And the second thing is limit access to news. Focus on the stuff. What I mean by that is so that you're not drilling down to every single article all of the time. Just managing your access to the news and actually focusing on the great things that are around you and your family. And let your children see that. What Sarah was talking about there, about modelling that you actually can take time to enjoy what your children, and actually the glorious sunshine if you're able to get out. Acknowledge that this is a new paradigm, but in that new paradigm, that actually still good to have routines. Get up, get dressed. Don't let everything go. The routines provide certainty and a kind of predictability in this new paradigm, and it's going to be important for your kids, and it's important for you. Do things like exercise, Joe Wicks. Do things like meal times together. We're eating a lot more together as a family. Let your boundaries maybe redefined. be real with your children about what's happening, but don't catastrophize this. Don't put burdens on them that they are unable to sustain. And don't let coronavirus be the center of all your topics of conversation. It's still okay to talk about boyfriends and love and life and the sunshine and the weather. And maybe when this all restrictions come off, where we can go on holiday. If you want live help, go to Dad.info, the forum there. There's people there waiting for you. And in fact, we're getting quite a lot of response on that already. And if you want just some support and ideas, go to the Family Hub. You'll find that on the Fegans website, fegans.org.uk, because we're here for you. We're here for you. And we'll continue to do some of these updates as life goes on. Send in some ideas at info@fegans.org.uk, and we'd love to hear any ideas that you've got. Email me. My name is Ian Soars, SOARS. So that's Ian.Soars@fegans.org.uk, and we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, thank you so much for your time.